the distinctive and famous score from a memorable franchise. Welcome back to the Big Barton Film Show with me, Sudip Badori. Every week this year I've been covering a golden movie year, but in the wake of the passing of the great Sir Sean Connery, I thought it might be best to do a tribute to James Bond 007. I can confess on being a Bond fan. I've got all the DVDs, all the books written by Ian Fleming, and lots of dossiers and encyclopedias about the making of a famous cinema character. More about the great Sir Sean later, but let's talk about Bond, James Bond. Who was he? Not just a famous cinema icon. He was created by Ian Fleming in 1953. Now, Fleming worked for naval intelligence and was an accomplished journalist, and all this would play a part in his depiction of the character of 007. He was also a notorious womanizer, with the odd scandal or two involving married women, and that almost certainly gave Bond that cutting edge in his treatment or maltreatment of the fairer sex. But where did the name James Bond come from? Well, surprisingly, from an American bird watcher. The book was called The Birds of the West Indies, and the author was James Bond. Fleming wanted a simple, dull, plain-sounding name. In the book, James Bond was an experienced naval officer with great skills in combat and espionage. He knew his wines and how to seduce as well as use women. He was a 00 number, which meant he had a license to kill and took no prisoners. Ian Fleming's first book was in 1953. That was Casino Royale, and he went on to write 13 more. In 1954, the American TV network CBS paid Fleming $1,000 for the copyrights to make a 1-hour TV adventure of Casino Royale. And did you know that Bond was played by American actor Barry Nelson? Le Chiffre, the villain in Casino Royale, was played by the great Peter Lorre. Several years later, USA producers Albert Broccoli and Harry Saltzman approached Fleming about the making of a James Bond movie. Dr. No was written in 1958, and this was the book they were targeting. An agreement was then made to kickstart this famous series. But who was to play James Bond? Who was on the shortlist? Well, the shortlist included Rex Harrison, the great Cary Grant, James Mason, a very young Roger Moore. Yes, Roger Moore. He was a big hit on the TV channels in the series called Ivanhoe. In the end, they plucked a rugged, handsome, tough guy with charisma. Enter Sean Connery and cue Dr. No.